Most High Christ. All right. That's not trouble, girl. We. All right, Shalom, Israel. Yahweh, Shem Yahshua, Brakatham, Yahweh, Shemal, Thumb, Shem Yahshua, Priest and Officer 1000, you die holding it down until 12 Shield General Muhammad gets here. You got any questions? Type your questions in the chat for General Muhammad. Now, Black, Latino, and First Nation man and woman. This is the Monday. Shalom, sir. That's your thought. Did you want it? Okay, come on. Now, this is the Monday Night Scripture Breakdown class. As we all know, man, we got the Passover coming up. Raleigh, North Carolina, April 1st, this Saturday. I expect every Black, Latino, and First Nation man and woman to be there. The important thing to realize, man, that we have our holy days like the Passover, like the Sabbath, like the Feast of Unleavened Bread, man. You don't have to be out here in the world. You don't have to be out there celebrating Memorial Day, Easter is getting ready to come up, and all these different pagan holidays, man, that is not of God. Easter is not of God. Like, first of all, we all went to school, right? We all went, took biology and anatomy. Like, when the last time you seen a rabbit lay an egg? That's because Easter comes from Ishtar, which is a Babylonian goddess. And that's why our God told us that we should have no other gods before us, that we should separate from Babylon, separating from Babylon, from America, from Egypt, because they're all one and the same. We have to separate ourselves from this wicked society as Blacks, Latinos, and Native American Indians. And I'll show you that in the scriptures. I mean, Leviticus 20 and verse 26, and Trooper Quadazahol, Amos chapter 5 and verse 21.
Leviticus chapter 20, verse 26.
Go ahead.
And ye shall be holy unto me.
Our God said, ye shall be holy unto me. Meaning we have to be holy unto our God. Holy meaning set apart. Holy ain't what you think it is. It ain't your grandmama, grandpa, you know what I mean, with the feathered hat on in church. That's not holy. Holy means to be separate according to our God. Read on.
For I, the Lord, am holy.
For I, the Lord, am holy. Meaning our God, the Most High, Yahweh, is holy. He's separate. He has to be separate unto our God. And being separate, you got to let Easter go. You got to let that go. You got to you got to stop putting on that Sunday best and going to church. You know what I mean? And let that go, Latino man, First Nation man and woman, Black man and woman, because it's not of the Most High. Neither is your birthday, and neither is any of these pagan holidays. Our God is saying that we are separate unto him because he is separate, meaning our God is not dealing with everybody. He's only dealing with us. Keep going.
And have severed you from other people.
And have severed you from other people, meaning he severed us from other people. He severed us from the oppressor, from the Africans, Asians, and Polynesians, and Tongans, and Filipinos, man. That's what we have to understand, that our God took the time to separate us from these heathens. And what we need to realize, right, and coming with separating from them, it's not celebrating their holidays. It's not doing the things that they encourage us to do. Like Black man, they don't even want us to be masculine no more. You can forget about it. A masculine Black or Latino man in America, they don't want that. They call that toxic masculinity. But there is a place where toxic masculinity reigns supreme, and that's in the UPK, under Command and General Yohana, man. Because what we need to realize, right, and which is so evil in what they're promoting, they're turning things upside down. Telling sisters this is all right to be masculine, brothers, it's all right to be feminine. I saw a video partners out of this sister that broke down, man. She was in her 40s. Said she was married, had a good man, but she made it in the corporate world, was making more money than him. She felt as though that he was beneath her. She would believe, that he was beneath her. She said she used to belittle him and then divorced him. And then guess what happened? She said she went from sleeping from man to man, feeling so alone at night, miserable. And guess what that man did? He went and got a new rib and had kids with that rib, and was well better off. That's the part that they don't want our sisters to know. That's why if you are, you know what I mean. If you're trying to separate from this wicked society, you need the ISUPK. Because here, sisters can be feminine. Here, men can be masculine. You can't have that in the world. In the world, they want you to be like Dwayne Wade and his son. Yes, his son, because he's still a boy. I seen another video, Quatazal, a father sobbing and crying his eyes out, you know what I mean, on some talk show because his son came out dressed like a woman. I was like, God damn. Goes to show you, man, that's what they want in this place. And it starts with that. What we don't understand is being in that Christian church, being in that Muslim mosque, being under that pastor, being under that imam, listening to everything that these false prophets that your pastor and imam and that the oppressor is saying. Like right now, they gearing up for Easter, my thumb. And Easter is not the whole, practice of Easter is not in the Bible. It's not. We celebrate the Passover where the Lord passed over us, you know what I mean, and saved us and delivered us from them Africans, man. Easter is a Babylonian, you know what I mean, custom. And I'm going to show it to you. Give me Amos chapter 5 and verse 21.
This book of Amos chapter 5, verse 21. I hate.
The Lord said, what?
I hate.
The Lord said, I hate. I wonder, first of all, even with that, the Lord saying, I hate, what does the Lord hate? What does he hate? I thought God was incapable of hate. Guess what, Christians? God can hate. And we're about to find out what. The scriptures say there's a time for love, a time for hate. Keep going.
Oh, God. I despise your feast days.
I despise what?
Your feast days.
The Lord said, I despise your feast days, meaning your Easter, your Memorial Day, your Thanksgiving, your Christmas, your birthday. That is what our God despises. He despises all of these things. And you think it's a glorious thing to do. To put on your Sunday best, put on that suit, dragging them. I remember when I was a kid, y'all, my mother used to drag me to Roughest Church. I'd be mad as hell, Quatazar, mad as hell. Because here's the thing, man. You got to understand, none of that is in the Bible. The whole eggs and, rabbits laying eggs and the candy and all that garbage, man. Like it actually derives from Ishtar, which is a Babylonian goddess of fertility. And it suits the Christian church celebrating that because what is the church famous for? Sleeping with your wife and your woman and your mama and auntie and molesting them kids. Following after the Babylonians. Following after them. That's why our God had the wherewithal to tell us and command us to not celebrate their feast days. The Lord said, I despise your feast days. And it ain't just Easter, Mother's Day, Father's Day. A lot of y'all gonna fold, man. A lot of y'all are going to fold. I pray you don't. Because when Mother's Day come around, your mother gonna look at you and be like, you're not gonna give me a gift, baby? Let me tell you something. Then she's gonna say, but you have to honor thy father and thy mother. You honor your mother by not getting her a gift on Mother's Day.
Right.
You honor your father by not getting him a gift on Father's Day. You honor, your parents by not telling them happy birthday. And you'll be a better parent, than they are. By abiding by these laws, statutes, and commandments and raising your children up in this truth. And it starts by coming in here and becoming a new man and saying, listen, we ain't celebrating Easter no more. That's dead. We dead to Easter. We dead to Memorial Day and Mother's Day and Father's Day and Valentine's Day and all of these different customs. Because our God said he hates and despises our feast days. Read.
And I will not smell in your solemn assembly.
And I will not smell in your solemn assembly. Let me tell you something. My slave, I slave in them warehouses, managing that. Let me tell you something. The amount of hams they brought through that warehouse, brother. I was like, man, I'm about to be unclean. Now, I ain't touching them, of course, but I was like, God damn. Just rolling in like pallets and pallets and pallets upon hams for what? I looked down, at the invoice, Quatazar, it said for Easter. I said, God damn. Your pastor is going to be running up a day, getting them hams, giving them out on Easter, and pork is unlawful. But the beauty of this is God said he ain't smelling none of that anyway. He said, I will not smell in your solemn assemblies. So when you get together for that Easter Sunday dinner or brunch or whatever you're going to do, God is not going to be smelling that. You know what God is going to smell? That delicious Passover lamb that we are going to have April 1st in Raleigh, North Carolina. That's what God is going to smell. He is going to smell that delicious unleavened bread. Like, that's what I'm waiting for. That, listen, I don't think y'all brothers understand. It's gonna be your first Passover. You get that Passover lamb, you dip that, and y'all don't know, you dip that unleavened bread and that lamb gravy. I've been thinking about that shit, Salak. I've been thinking about that for the past 2 weeks. Trying to tell you. I'm just saying, you see me in the corner with my plate quite just leave me be. Let me get down. That's what God is going to smell. He ain't smelling that Easter ham or whatever y'all cooking up on these. He's not smelling none of that. And it's a beautiful thing to realize too, because as the Lord's chosen people, right, we are so destroyed that we have no clue who we even are. Like we've been, Matham, give me Jeremiah 17 and verse 4. Because we have been disconnected from our heritage. Barak can tell you how Yahweh Shah for the Isupk and the commanded journey Yohana, because we've been bringing this truth out since 1969, that we are the biblical Jews of antiquity. And that's one thing, if you notice, right? If you notice, like how they came and shut down every entertainer and every actor that came out and said, we're the Jews, they never once was able to refute the information. You can forget about them trying to challenge us. They never will. Your rabbi never will. Because the thing is, no one else has been disenfranchised the way we have. We've been cut off from our identity because we chose to follow after these heathens and follow after Easter and follow after, you know what I mean, the oppressor. We have no clue who we even are. And that's in the Bible. You got what I asked for, my thumb? Go ahead.
Jeremiah chapter 14, verse 2.
17 and 4. Salaki. Yeah, 17 and 4.
17, verse 4. Chapter 17, verse 4.
Mm-hmm.
And thou, even thyself, shalt discontinue from thine heritage.
It says, and thou, even thyself, shalt discontinue from thy inheritance. Meaning this, we've been discontinued from our inheritance. What is our inheritance? We got to understand that our God chose us. He chose us out of all these nations to be his people. We're called after the Lord's name. Yasha Allah means princess of the power. And if you assist the princess of the power, we call by the Most High's name. And it says, thou, even thyself, shalt discontinue from thy inheritance. Meaning this, we've been discontinued from our identity, our culture, who we are. You ask a brother today, what's his nationality? He might give you a church denomination. Then he'll tell you, oh, I'm African American. When the term African American is fairly recent. You know what I mean? We went from being Negroes, you know what I mean, coloreds. They still call us niggas. That's in the Bible. You know what I mean? That we be called these bywords, man. But we are the chosen people of God. Yasha Allah, princes of the power. We've been discontinued from that. Following after these heathens, wanting to be free, white, and 21. Thinking it's all right to live the lifestyle of the oppressor. And what do we get from living this lifestyle? We get destroyed. We get destroyed. That's why they can come up in our schools and do what they do, like in Uvalde, Texas. I believe another one happened today, you know what I mean, in Nashville, Tennessee, man. Go to show you. Lord be with them brothers and sisters out there, man. And that's why the UPK is needed, so we can continue to bring out this truth. Because we have no clue, our people have no clue who we are. Like no iota, that our heritage, our whole culture is right here. It's right here. Like the church, you know what I mean, and the mosque and the oppressor has done such a damaging job to our people, having us believe that it's all right, you know what I mean, to be up in that church, that God loves everybody. It's all right to celebrate these pagan holidays. Those things are not okay. That's why we have been discontinued from our inheritance. Keep going. Keep reading. Jeremiah 17 and 4.
That I gave thee.
That I what?
Gave thee.
That I gave thee, meaning the Lord gave this to us. The Lord gave this to us. He chose us. And listen, he said if he'd have chose anybody else, Quatazal, he'd be serving him right now. If he chose Moab, the Chinese would be serving him right now. If he chose Africans, the Africans would be serving him right now. But he didn't choose them. Hey, shalom, sir. You went to class, sir?
Yeah,
Come. With that being said, I'm going to pass the class off to Priest and Captain Aria.
What are you, Dyer? I'm gonna be holding it down for General Hyman tonight. As you know, the Passover is coming up, so the generals is definitely making some last minute preparations, doing all things they gotta do to make sure everything is to wow for this year's Passover. So we're gonna hold it down for General Hyman tonight. Before I start, is any questions online, preferably in the room first? If any of your brothers and sisters in the room have questions, you will, sir.
What does it mean to test the Most High? Don't tempt, I can't think of what scripture.
Don't tempt the Most High. Don't tempt God. To tempt the Most High is to put it simply, to do something that you know is dangerous, but you believe that the Most High will protect you because you follow the Most High. So, I guess jumping off a cliff. It's an extreme example, but it's an extreme example would be I'm jumping off a cliff and I'm thinking me jumping off this cliff is going to be fine and the angel's going to swing down and carry me away because I follow the Most High. That would be to tempt the Most High to assume that God is going to save me once I jump off this cliff. When in all likelihood I'll just die because I'm tempting the Most High. I'm living in a way that I'm living a foolish life. That although may not be technically sinful, I put myself in situations that I think the Lord is going to get me out of, but he won't. But that it's not guaranteed that he will, because the life I'm living is risky, is not wise. Good.
That's how you said that's not wise. So
Yeah.
anything I would do that's foolish or stupid choice or foolish or stupid decision that would be tempting the Most High.
Yeah, I would say so. I would say anything that you're doing, anything you go and do that is foolish, that you could put yourself in danger, that may not necessarily be a sin, but is, like you said, foolish, is unwise. You're tempting the Most High by doing that. By doing something foolish and just assuming that God is going to be with you. Living your life like that, you're tempting God, and you're almost testing the Most High's hands, living a foolish life. And it happens all the times with brothers and sisters where you think you can, because you're in the truth, because you got a certain level of knowledge, you can live life like there aren't still things out here that will destroy you. So I got another simple way is the way you interact with people, the way you interact with the police. Now that you're in the truth, when you get pulled over, don't think that you're gonna cuss out the cops and get away with it. Don't think you're gonna get pulled over, cuss the cop out, call him a devil and all that, and he's not gonna pull you out the car and whoop your ass. He's still gonna do it, even though you're in the truth, because you still have to live your life with a certain level of wisdom, even though you have the truth. Because you have the truth, that gives you a certain level of wisdom. So take on that wisdom and don't live life recklessly, because now you have like an inflated ego, an inflated sense of security because you follow God. You still have to live a wise life, even though the Most High is with you, and make wise decisions outside of sin. Of course, any sin is evil, and you're doing more than tempting the Most High. You're disobeying God. But there's other decisions you may make in life that aren't sins but are unwise, and those things may be tempting the Most High. Like I said, the extreme example is like jumping off a cliff, or I guess a debatable one is what's the thing when they jump on the plane? Bungee jumping or something like that. That's like an extreme example of what I'm talking about. Go ahead, sis.
Also, sinning can be tempting the Most High.
I wouldn't call that. I know. I wouldn't call that tempting the Most High. I would call that just flat out disobeying the Most High, disobeying God's laws. That's extreme. It's not tempting God. That's flat out disobeying Him. Any other questions in the room? Oh, no, so let me get we're gonna start off with Exodus 2 and 11. Like as we all know, the ISUBK is having, what was it, the 54th, you know? We have a 54th annual Passover in Raleigh, North Carolina. That's coming up. Like Adai was bringing out, I think I was watching on the class before he was bringing out. Right now, the earth is getting ready, and the Christian world is getting ready to celebrate Easter. But here in ISUBK, we have held on to the traditions of God. We in ISUBK, we actually celebrate the Most High. I mean, we actually follow the Most High, actually follow God. We are grown men and women who follow the Most High, and we don't worship bunnies and eggs. We decide to hold fast to the laws, statutes, and commandments, and the traditions that were laid down by our forefathers. And that's why this year, like every year, in ISUBK, since our foundation, we are going to celebrate the Most High's Passover, observe the Most High Passover. So tonight, I'm going to give like a general breakdown of the Passover, of the story of the Passover. For any brother or sister that's out there that's new in the school, new to the truth in general, and may not know the general story. The story is overall long. It's all throughout the book of Exodus, all the way, technically, I guess, yeah, the whole book of Exodus. Much of the Old Testament is talking about the stories before, after, and during the Lord's Passover, right? Or our captivity in Egypt. So we're going to pull out a few scriptures showing you in general, a general breakdown of what happened before, during, and after the Lord's Passover. We're going to get over what the Passover is, what that term means. Whoever got it can read it. Exodus 2 and 11.
This book of Exodus chapter 2 verse 11. And it came to pass in those days when Moses was grown, that he went out unto his brethren and looked on their burdens.
It came to pass. We all know about Moses. Moses, he's a guy you may have heard about on TV, in church. They may quote Moses, bringing Moses up every now and again, and even in your Christian church. But Moses, he was the leader chosen in Israel at this time. He was a man chosen in his day to lead his people out of captivity in Egypt. At this point, around the time Moses was alive, the Israelites had been in Egypt for around 400 years. They had been in Egypt around 400 years, and Moses was a man that grew up in Egypt. For all intents and purposes, he grew up as an Egyptian. Moses was a man that was adopted by the daughter of Pharaoh. He was adopted by the daughter of Pharaoh because when Moses was born, it was an order given out. It was an order given out that all the men children, all the boys that were born of the children of Israel were to be cast into the river. They were to be killed by the Egyptians because the nation of Israel had grown very strong. When Israel came into Egypt, it wasn't even really a nation. Wasn't even really a race of people. It was around, I believe, 70 people walked into Egypt when the Israelites first came to Egypt. But as the hundreds of years went by, we grew into a mighty nation, and we began to become intimidated by the Egyptians. The Egyptians began to fear us, and so they went out to try to eradicate us and lower our populations, very similar to what goes on today in abortion clinics. And what you'll see, and when you read about the Exodus, you read about stories about our captivity in Egypt. There are many parallels, many similarities between what happened in Egypt and what we go through today. The same spirits that were on that earth today, that were on the earth back then, that wanted to destroy us, wanted to wipe us out, wanted to take us away from our heritage, wanted to find a way to make us disobey God. They are still here today, and that same spirit that comes on certain men to stand on the Most High, stand with the Most High even when nobody else does, stand with the truth even when nobody else does. That spirit that was with Moses or with many men in the past that we read about in this Bible is still here with us today. And you're going to see many parallels and many lessons that we can take from the captivity in Egypt and use it today. So read that from the top. So what I just explained to you just now about Moses, that's later on. That's earlier in the scriptures. I skipped that for time's sake, but we're just going to get to, I guess you could say, a catalyst, a big breaking point in Moses' life. So like I said, Moses, he was adopted. He was adopted by Pharaoh's daughter. So Moses was royalty. Moses was a man that today in America, he was a man that grew up rich, or he grew up with family that was in government. You could put it like that. Moses wasn't the common brother that worked a job every day. Moses wasn't the common man that had a regular life. He grew up what we would call privileged. Today he would have a white picket fence and a nice house. He would have went to a private school. He would have had a life that was better than the average Black and Hispanic and Native Indian person. He had a life where he didn't have to worry about struggling, and Moses did not have to worry about the struggles of the average Black and Hispanic person. He was a brother that could have just worried about being an Egyptian, worried about coming closer to Egyptian culture and living like an Egyptian because he was privileged. He could have lived that type of lifestyle, but he still had a spirit of how do I put it? He still had a spirit to stand with his people. He still had a spirit that behooved him to cleave unto his people and do what's right for his people, even though he lived a life where he didn't have to do that. He didn't have any obligations. He could have just lived like an Egyptian, but he decided to stand with the Israelites. So read that.
And it came to pass in those days when Moses was grown, that he went out unto his brethren and looked on their burdens.
So Moses was grown. He grew older. He was an adult now, and Moses went out and he looked at his brother. He looked at his people in Egypt. Read on.
And he spied an Egyptian smiting in Hebrew.
And he spied an Egyptian smiting in Hebrew. So Moses saw an Egyptian, a Hamite, a so-called African that you would see today. He saw an African smiting, attempting to kill a Hebrew and Israelite. So to put it in your mind, Moses goes out and he sees his people, the Israelites in Egypt. These are Black people, Hispanics, and Native Indians, and they are in bondage. They are in slavery. They're poor. If you want to understand Egypt, pretty much put yourself in the mind of what's going on right now today, without the cars and the smartphones. The same as everything that's going on today, with a different language and a different set of technology. So Moses, he went out, he saw his people, they were enslaved. They served another race of people. They served the Egyptians. And he saw one of these Egyptians, one of these Africans, attempting to kill one of his brothers, an Israelite. Read on.
One of his brethren.
One of his brothers. So once again, Moses, he was a Hebrew, he was an Israelite, and he saw this Egyptian trying to smite his brother, smite somebody that was the same blood as him. Read on.
Verse 12. And he looked this way and that way.
So Moses, when he saw this thing, he saw the scene. He saw the Egyptian killing his brother, and when he saw it, he stopped and he looked this way and looked that way. Moses, before he did what he did, he wanted to go make sure there wasn't any witnesses. He looked around this way and that way, and took a second to make sure there was nobody else around, seeing what was about to happen. Read on.
And when he saw that there was no man, he slew the Egyptian.
And when he saw that there was no man, he slew the Egyptian. So when Moses looked around and saw that nobody was around to see what was going to happen, he went and he defended his brother and he killed the Egyptian. He killed that Egyptian and defended his brother that was being killed. You know.
And hid him in the sand. He
killed him and buried him in some sand and hid the body. So it was you can imply at least that by Moses killing him and hiding the body, that what he did was wrong. What he did, of course, at least according to the Egyptians and the society he was in at that time, for whatever reason, it was considered wrong, even though he was defending his brother. Even though he was defending that man, he killed him. Before he did it, he looked around to make sure nobody could see it. He killed him and then he hid the body. So Moses knew it was something that he shouldn't be doing, at least according to the Egyptians. Read on.
Verse 13. And when he went out the second day, behold, 2 men of the Hebrews strolled together.
So the next day, Moses was out. Moses was out and about, and he saw 2 Israelite brothers, 2 Hebrews, two black men, two Hispanic men fighting each other. Like I said, it's just like today in America. Today in America, who is a black man worried about? A black man is worried about the police and other black men, unfortunately. So the very next day, Moses went out and he saw two Hebrews, two Israelites, two brothers, two black men, two Hispanic men, two Native American Indians fighting each other. Read on.
And he said to him that did the wrong, wherefore spitest thou thy fellow?
And Moses, he said to the brother that was wrong in the situation. He said to that brother, he said, why do you smite your fellow? Why are you fighting your brother? Why are you hurting your brother? He said that to one of the men that was fighting. Read on.
Verse 14, and he said, who made thee a prince and a judge over us?
And the man and the brother that was in the fight, he was proud. He was proud, and he didn't respect what Moses had to say, or he didn't believe Moses had any authority. Read it from the top again.
Verse 14, and he said, who made thee a prince and a judge over us?
He told Moses, who made you a prince or a judge over us? Who put you in charge? Why do you have anything to say to me about what I'm doing? Read on.
Intendest thou to kill me?
Intendest. Like intendest.
Or intendest
Yeah.
thou to kill me?
Thou to kill me. Read on.
As thou killest the Egyptian.
As thou killest the Egyptian. Moses, the brother said to Moses, do you intend to kill me the way you killed that Egyptian? You judging me? You telling me what I shouldn't be doing, what I should and shouldn't be doing? Do you intend to kill me the way you killed that Egyptian? So evidently, when Moses killed that man, killed that Egyptian, somebody saw it. Somebody knew that it happened. Somebody was talking about Moses killing that Egyptian and defending his brother. So the very next day, somebody said to him, "What you gonna do to me? You gonna kill me just like you killed that Egyptian? You gonna put me to death just like you killed that Egyptian?" Read on.
And Moses feared and said, surely this thing is known.
And Moses, like I said, he inferred that surely this thing was known. He knew that the thing that he did the previous day was known amongst the people. Read on.
Verse 15. Now when Pharaoh heard this thing, he sought to slay Moses. But Moses fled from the face of Pharaoh and dwelt in the land of Midian, and he sat down by a well.
And Moses, and after that, Moses figured out that Pharaoh was trying to kill him, and he knew that he figured out that people knew what he had done. So Moses fled. He ran away, and he ran away into the land of Midian. And Moses, after that, for decades, went on to live his life. He went on to live his life, had children, a wife. He went on to live a life. Not like I said, he wasn't obligated to anybody. He wasn't a leader. So you could say at this point in time, Moses was not in the truth, but Moses had a spirit on him. He had the Holy Spirit. He had a spirit that behooved him to be on the side of his people, but he wasn't in the truth. He wasn't a leader. He wasn't somebody to lead anybody. He wasn't. It wasn't his time yet. But the Most High was going to choose him, and eventually did choose him to lead his people out of Egypt. But at this point, Moses went on a run and went into the land of Midian, and he was gone for quite a while. But eventually, Moses came back. He came back because he was called by the Most High to come back. He was chosen to come back and lead his people out of captivity. Give me Exodus 7:2. Moses once again was chosen by the Most High to come back. Like I said before, all throughout the scriptures, certain men are chosen, or certain groups of men are chosen to lead the nation of Israel. Moses got his turn. Moses got his turn to lead his people out of captivity, and he went on to prophesy against Pharaoh. He went to go plead with Pharaoh to let his people go, as they say. It's in the scriptures, and that's the one everybody know. And Moses pleaded with Pharaoh. He pleaded with Pharaoh. He asked Pharaoh to let his people go I believe. How long was it upon? Or you know, how long did he ask for the 3 days?
3 days.
It was only 3 days that Moses asked to let the Israelites go. So the Israelites were working in bondage in Egypt, and Moses came to Pharaoh and just asked for 3 days. 3 days for them to go into the wilderness and serve the Most High. 3 days to go out and pray and sacrifice and serve the Most High. That's all Moses asked for. But Pharaoh refused. The ruler of the Egyptians refused to give the nation of Israel 3 days. 3 days out of hundreds of years that we had been enslaved there. He wouldn't give us that, and we're gonna see why this happened. Give me that Exodus 7:2.
It's the book of Exodus chapter 7 verse 2. Thou shalt speak all that I command thee, and Aaron thy brother shall speak unto Pharaoh, that he send the children of Israel out of his land.
Read on.
Verse 3.
That's read from the top again. Verse 2.
Verse 2. Thou shalt speak all that I command thee, and Aaron thy brother shall speak unto Pharaoh, that he send the children of Israel out of his land.
So Moses had Aaron. Aaron was a brother out of the same tribe as Moses. He was a Levite. And Aaron was Moses' mouthpiece. When Moses was chosen, Moses didn't have the confidence to go and speak. And the scriptures say he was, I believe it says he was slow of speech. So Moses may have had a stutter, a speech impediment, or something with the way he talked, where he wasn't confident enough to go just talk on his own. So the Most High gave Moses Aaron. So all the things that Moses communicated, all the things that he said, even though he got it from the Most High, he didn't say it himself. He got Aaron to do it. Aaron was the one that he was chosen to be the mouthpiece for Moses, and Moses was getting his messages. He was getting what he told Aaron straight from the Most High. So read from the top one more time, verse 2.
Verse 2. Thou shalt speak all that I command thee, and Aaron thy brother shall speak unto Pharaoh, that he send the children of Israel out of his land. Verse 3.
So Moses told Aaron to tell Pharaoh to send a nation of Israel out of the land. So once again, give them a 3-day break from captivity. Read on.
Verse 3. And I will harden Pharaoh's heart.
And the Most High prophesied that he would harden Pharaoh's heart. Read on.
And multiply my signs and my wonders in the land of Egypt.
The Most High prophesied that he would harden Pharaoh's heart. Okay, so we know that Pharaoh's heart was hardened against the Israelites. What would it mean if his heart was soft? What would it mean if he had a soft heart unto the Israelites? Go ahead.
He would hear what he had to say.
He would let him go. If Pharaoh had a soft heart, we wouldn't have the story as we know it today. Pharaoh would have let him out. He would have let the Israelites out. He would have gave them what they wanted. But Pharaoh had a hard heart. He had a level of hatred for the Israelites. He didn't want to have any mercy on them. He didn't want them to go out and observe and worship the Most High for 3 days. But the Most High hardened his heart, and it's important to know that the Most High did it. And it's important to understand God through this example about how the Most High operates and how to try to understand at least how He thinks. We would think that the Most High would I guess you would think that God would just hope that Pharaoh would listen to Moses and have mercy on the Israelites. But the Most High did not want that. The Most High wanted Pharaoh to be stubborn. The Most High wanted Pharaoh to not listen, to not let the Israelites out. We're going to see why. Read verse 3 from the top again.
Verse 3. And I will harden Pharaoh's heart and multiply my signs and my wonders in the land of Egypt. The
Most High prophesied. He told Moses that he would harden Pharaoh's heart, make Pharaoh harder on the Israelites and stubborn against the Israelites. And through that, and after that, he would multiply his wonders and miracles. He would do amazing, never before seen things in the land of Egypt. Read on.
Verse 4. But Pharaoh shall not hearken unto you, that I may lay my hand upon Egypt.
Read it again.
But Pharaoh shall not hearken unto you.
But Pharaoh, he is not going to listen to you. Or Pharaoh is not going to obey you. And why not? Read on.
That I may lay my hand upon Egypt.
The Most High was just looking for an excuse to destroy Egypt. If you want to understand God as he actually is, you want to understand that. The Most High could have just made Pharaoh soft. He could have just made Pharaoh have mercy on the Israelites and let them go, and they could all live happily ever after. But the Most High, on purpose, made Pharaoh's heart hard, made Pharaoh stubborn, made Pharaoh continually evil to the Israelites, just so he would have an excuse to destroy them. Read on.
And bring forth my armies and my people, the children of Israel, out of the land of Egypt by great judgment.
By great judgment. Read on.
Verse 5. And the Egyptians shall know that I am the Lord when I stretch forth my hand upon Egypt.
And through great destruction, and through great miracles, and through great plagues, all the plagues that you would read about after this, where the Most High sent locusts and frogs and turned the water into blood in Egypt. All the great plagues and destructions he did on the Egyptians, and he was just looking for an excuse to do it, just so he could be glorified, just so he could show his power and what he could do if disobeyed. Read on.
And bring out the children of Israel from among them.
And through that destruction, and through the destruction of the Egyptians, and the death of the Egyptians and the downfall of them, he would bring the nation of Israel out of captivity under the Egyptians. I think that's it on that. Let me make sure. All right, you can drop that. Now let me get where we at? Give me we're gonna branch off of Matthew 24:7. And once again, all the things that we read about during the Passover and reading the story of the Exodus are examples of what could be used, of what can happen today and what will happen today in this captivity that we have here. Egypt is a great nation like many others, a great nation, a great empire like many others. It's like the Greeks, the Romans, the Babylonians, the Assyrians, many great empires, great races of people that lived off the backs of the Israelites, lived off the blacks of Hispanics and Native American Indians, lived off of a race of people who are often lost in time because if you read about them in a history book, they would be considered the Egyptian because they lived like Moses. They lived like a man that just was growing up in Egypt. You read about them in a history book, you would just think they were a Babylonian or a Mesopotamian or a Greek or a Roman because they were captives. They weren't people that had their own land and government. They were people who were enslaved today, just like black people now. If you read about LeBron James 200 years from now, it'll say he's an American. I think if you go on Wikipedia right now, if you go on Wikipedia and you look up Michael Jordan's Wikipedia and you look up Larry Bird's Wikipedia, both of them will say they're Americans. Both of them. Even though we know, living in America, that they're two very different types of people. According to history, they'll both be Americans. Go ahead, you done?
I'll pick your brain for a second, okay? If you look up Elon Musk on Wikipedia, it's going to say African American.
And technically, according to how mainstream society works, Elon Musk is an African American. He was born in South Africa, right? Elon Musk is from South Africa. He was born and raised there, so he's born there. No matter where he moves to, no matter what the color of his skin, if he was born in South Africa, he's South African, and once he moves here and becomes a citizen, he's African American, and I guess his kids is too. We are a people who are often lost in history because we are the slaves of great nations, the slaves of great kings and emperors. The slaves of many of the great nations that we hear about in history, and that's why you don't see us. And if things continue the way they will, the same thing will happen in this country. If things continue the way that they have, but through the grace and the mercy of the Most High, we are going to see the same downfall and destruction that we saw in Sodom and Gomorrah, that we saw in Egypt, that we saw amongst the Greeks and the Romans happen in this country, and we're going to see the same salvation, the same mercy that was extended to the Israelites in the Old Testament to be extended to them today in modern day times. But more destruction is coming as it did in the past. More destruction and death is coming to America as it did in the past and many of these other great nations. I think, according to the news, I'm not sure if you can even drink the water in Philadelphia. I think right now, I heard you might be taking a risk about drinking the tap water in Philly, because just like a few other places I heard about, there's all these damn oil spills or some. In Philly, I know it was latex. It was some latex plant that had some runoff that got into the water supply. But all over the damn country, there's been incidents with you can't drink the water here because there was an explosion. There was an oil rig that blew up in a train that blew up. So you can't drink the water there. It's polluted over there. This place has pollution. That place has pollution. These are destructions and curses from the Most High. All the bad things you see going on, that's from God. Just like we give credit to the Most High when some good happens. When we have water to drink, when we have food to eat, when we live, we thank the Most High because we know He has the power and He's the one that did it. So we should also give Him the credit when we can't drink the water either. When we die, when we can't eat. All these things are coming from the Most High, and it's destruction and punishment from all those who disobey God and all those who have defied the Most High by destroying His people. And this destruction and this dysfunction that we see it in this country is coming from the Most High. Read that right quick, Matthew 24:7. Is that one verse?
Matthew chapter 24, verse 7. For nation shall rise against nation, and kingdom against kingdom, and there shall be famines and pestilence and earthquakes in divers places.
And famine and pestilence. That's the one I want to hone in on. Famine. And that's what been hearing about, I think, ever since this pandemic. I go in the store, there ain't nothing in the store. I don't know where I don't know where the food at in the grocery store. Maybe they got it in the back. Your dad might know. but for the past year or so, you walk into the supermarket at least. It is the shelves are rarely stocked. It's rarely you can just go in there and find exactly what you want. It's barren, and the water is polluted. And everybody is scared about the economy. And right now, at least, it's damn sure a lot of fear. As far as actual destruction, that's here and there. But it's for right now in this country, it's definitely a sense of destruction is coming. The fall is coming. Poverty is coming. Famine is coming. And everybody should be afraid. Everybody should be afraid, because we are getting closer and closer to the inevitable end, the inevitable punishment at the hands of Most High, just like the punishment of the Most High was inevitable for the Egyptians, is going to happen to this place today. So we're gonna drop that and let's get Exodus 12:1. So after to put it in a nutshell for you, after Moses tried to plead with Pharaoh and get him to release the Israelites and allow them to go out into the wilderness for 3 days and worship the Most High, Pharaoh, of course, denied him. He denied him, and he became harder again on the Israelites. He put taskmasters over them. He took resources away from them. He made it harder for them to be slaves in that captivity, and he refused to let them go. And the Most High brought great plagues upon the Egyptians. He brought locusts. Locusts is like like a giant grasshopper, like a big grasshopper that comes, and when they come in waves, they come and they eat up all the crops, all the corn, all your wheat. They destroy it all. The frogs. He brought great plagues of frogs. He turned the water into blood. Great diseases on the Egyptians. So after there was many plagues and much destruction on the Egyptians for not letting the Israelites go. And one of the last plagues, one of the last destructions that the Most High put on the Egyptians goes into the night of the Passover, as we call it. And it goes into the night that we're going to celebrate in just a few days in Raleigh, North Carolina. So read that. Give me Exodus 12 and 1.
This is the book of Exodus chapter 12, verse 1. And the Lord spake unto Moses and Aaron in the land of Egypt, saying, This month shall be unto you the beginning of months. It shall be the first month of the year to you.
So this month we're in now is the I believe it's the month of Abib. I'm not sure if that's the Hebrew, but that's what it said in the English. But it's the first month of the year. When you read about the Exodus or Israel coming out of Egypt, this is when Israel begins to establish its government, establish like a strict system that we would adhere to and follow. Prior to Moses, all the customs that we had as Israelites were more oral traditions. It wasn't really like a set government or system, but more so just a large family that had certain customs and things they would follow after. That's kind of how you would see it as somebody on the outside looking in. Just an ethnic group, a family that has certain customs about sexuality, certain customs about their religion, certain customs about things they would eat or not eat. But it wasn't like a set government with a land and a really like a recognized sovereign government. And under Moses, that's when Israel began to take things that were just oral traditions or things that families would do amongst themselves or things that a certain ethnic group would do. And Moses took it and made it official law under his government, under the Most High's government, led by Moses, right? So here Moses is establishing our calendar as Israelites. Read that one more time, McCarthy.
From the top.
Yeah, you can read verse 1.
This is the book of Exodus chapter 12 and verse 1. And the Lord spake unto Moses and Aaron in the land of Egypt, saying, This month shall be unto you the beginning of months. It shall be the first month of the year to you.
So I just read this to let everybody know that that this month we in the month that the Passover lays in. I think it's probably like 12 days, 14 days after the first day of the year. Is the first month of the year. I'm bringing this out because many people know this in the Israelite community. People know that the Passover happened in the first month of the year. So around this time, you hear a lot of Happy New Year and all that garbage. This is the first month of the year. The month that the Passover, the month that the Passover lands on is the first month of the year. That's true. The first month of the year, according to the lunar calendar that the Most High gave us in Egypt. But we do not have a custom of worshiping or celebrating the first month of the year. Our main celebration, our main high holy day does fall on the first month of the year, but the Passover is not New Year celebration. It's a coincidence. It's not a New Year. So it's not our Israelite version of Happy New Year, of the New Year of January 1st. That's not what it is. But Passover does fall in the same month that is the first month of the year according to God. So I'm just saying that so everybody that learns the information that the Passover is in the first month of the year doesn't start to celebrate it as it's some type of New Year celebration, because it's not. It has nothing to do with celebrating the new year, but it has everything to do with celebrating the destruction of our enemies and freedom out of captivity. You can read on the car. Verse 3.
Verse 3. Speak ye unto all the congregation of Israel, saying, In the 10th day of this month, they shall take to them every man a lamb, according to the house of their fathers, a lamb for an house.
So in the 10th day, so right now we're going to break down to you the Passover custom, right? The Passover the custom surrounded around the Passover and where we get it from, where we get the lamb, the day we do it on, etc. Read for verse 3 from the top again.
Speak ye unto all the congregation of Israel, saying, In the 10th day of this month they shall take to them every man a lamb, according to the house of their fathers, a lamb for an house.
So on the 10th day of the first month, the Israelites, and this is all happening in Egypt in real time. At the same time of year, right now, thousands of years ago, probably like 5,000 years ago. At this time, all them years ago, these brothers were ordered to take a lamb for all their families. Every family was to take a lamb amongst all the families in the nation of Israel. You know.
Verse 4, and if the household be too little for the lamb, let him and his neighbor next unto his house take it according to the number of the souls. Every man according to his eating shall make your account for the lamb.
So if there was a family that was too small, the family too small for a whole lamb, he would join with another family. So essentially, they would just find a way for everybody to have a lamb to sacrifice or a lamb to eat, regardless of the size of their family. If you had a smaller family, you have to go find somebody with a larger family that you could all account for, and you could all have one lamb. But you might have a smaller family that's one lamb is too much for them to handle, so they would go to another family. Read on.
Verse 5, your lamb shall be without blemish, a male of the first year. Ye shall take it out from the sheep or from the goats.
So this lamb, a lamb being a young sheep, and this lamb is going to be it's going to be young, so it's going to be out of the first year of his life. It's going to be without blemish, so it's not going to have any scars and marks on it. It's not going to be like spotted and polka dot. It's not going to have any like deformities. It's not going to be all jammed up and retarded looking. It's going to be like a good, standard young lamb, something that you would like to kill and eat, something that you would prefer to eat, not something that's like unhealthy or throwaway. If that makes sense. Read on.
All right. Ye shall take it out from the sheep or from the goats. Verse 6, and ye shall keep it up until the 14th day of the same month, and the whole assembly of the congregation of Israel shall.
Verse
6.
Yes, go ahead. My bad.
And ye shall keep it up until the 14th day of the same month, and the whole assembly of the congregation of Israel shall kill it in the evening. So
on the 10th day, you're going to find the lamb. All the families going to make sure they have a lamb. And on the 14th day, they were ordered to kill the lamb. Read on.
I have a question.
Go ahead.
So on the 10th day for us, how would that be? IGK.
What do you mean?
I'm pretty sure we make sure we got the land and the farm and stuff like that.
Yeah. Come.
So how would we, necessarily the 10th day would be for us?
Well, the 10th day for you, the 10th day for you is the preparations in our Passover are made, of course, months and ahead of time. But days prior to us actually cooking the lamb or us eating it, is the lamb is prepared probably around that same time, or around about 4 days. So definitely dead, but 4 days before, not dead too much longer before it gets on a plate on the actual day of the Passover. So of course we not all personally going out getting lambs, but we are all going out. The school is going out as a whole and finding the lamb, preparing the days prior to the Passover, preparing it as in getting the lamb physically, and it's prepared for us on that day.
Verse 7, and they shall take of the blood and strike it on the two sides posts and on the upper door posts of the houses, wherein they shall eat it. So
in every house, after they would kill the lamb, they would take the blood of the lamb and they would put it on the doorpost. So like if you had just like anybody's house, you got the door with the two sides going up, the side across, connecting the two sides, and they took the blood of the lamb and they would mark it on the doorpost. Read on. Go ahead.
So question. So I noticed that too. For us, we do it at the entrance.
At the Passover. Come. I think in years past, we took the blood from the lamb that we ate at the Passover, and put it like on sheets and put it at the posts of the entrance of the Passover, and that's us maintaining the custom, maintaining the order in the scripture to mark our house, mark the house of the people that follow this order that Moses gave from the Most High. Read on.
All right, verse 8. And they shall eat the flesh in their night, roast with fire and unleavened bread, and with bitter herbs, and with bitter herbs they shall eat it.
And that night, on that 14th day, they were ordered to kill the lamb and to eat the lamb. And here's the instructions on how they were to eat the lamb. Read that again. Was that verse 8? No, verse 8.
And they shall eat the flesh in that night.
And they shall eat the flesh in that night. So that night, that 14th day, that night, they were ordered to eat that lamb. Read on.
Roast with fire.
Roast with fire. So you had to roast the lamb. They couldn't boil it, or they couldn't boil it or anything like that. They had to cook it, roast it in fire. Read on.
And unleavened bread.
And unleavened bread.
And with bitter herbs they shall eat it.
Unleavened bread. Unleavened bread is bread without yeast. Bread without yeast or without leaven. Leaven and yeast is more or less interchangeable. But a leavening agent, as you may see it today, is just anything that makes bread rise. The bread we have in the store, that some people may have made. If you haven't made bread, if you haven't gotten to cook anything like that, in order for the bread to puff out like that and be like chewy and good to eat the way we like it, they had to put yeast in the dough before cooking it. And when they put the yeast in the dough, the bread rises. The bread rises. So when you cook it, that's what makes the bread fluffy. It makes it fluffy and puff up like that. Without leavening, without yeast, the bread stays flat. Stays flat, kind of like a tortilla. That's something that we all know and understand. And unleavened bread was that flat bread. It wasn't puffed up. It wasn't like fluffy, but it was more coarse and flat. We don't.
Verse 9. Eat not of it raw.
Read verse 8 one more time. Let's make sure I break down everything.
Eat not of it raw, nor sodden at all with water.
So like in verse 8, my bad. Read verse 8 again, sorry.
And they shall eat the flesh in that night, roast with fire, and unleavened bread, and with bitter herbs they shall eat it.
And with bitter herbs they shall eat it. Bitter herbs, so like garlic, onions, rosemary, thyme, bitter herbs, not sweet, but something bitter to the taste. That's how they were ordered to eat it. Also, this night, I'll get into that later. But we're gonna go back to the reason why the bread was unleavened towards the end. Go ahead.
Verse 9. Eat not of it raw.
They couldn't eat it raw. They wasn't going to eat this lamb raw. Read on.
Nor sodden at all with water.
And they weren't going to boil this lamb in water like a soup. Read on.
But roast with fire.
But they was going to roast the lamb, and they were ordered to roast the lamb in fire. Read on.
His head with his legs, and with the pertinence thereof.
So they were ordered to kill and roast the entire lamb. Read on.
And ye shall let nothing of it remain until the morning. And that which remaining of it until the morning ye shall burn with fire.
So and they were ordered to eat it all, and they were anything that was left, they were ordered to burn it in fire. So they were going to eat all the food they had, and they was going to burn anything that was left. Read on.
And ye shall let verse 11. And thus shall ye eat it, with your loins girded, your shoes on your feet, and your staff in your hand. So, and this meal was to be eaten fully girded, fully clothed, ready to get up and walk out the door. Think about that. Read that verse again. And thus shall ye eat it, with your loins girded, your shoes on your feet, and your staff in your hand.
Your loins girded, so that war belt that you see brothers wear in the traditional Israelite garments. So they had their loins girded, they were ready, they were dressed, they had their shoes on their feet and a staff in their hand, their weapons in their hand. Not only will you see at the Passover, we're gonna have not only you're gonna see the food as described in the scriptures served, but that's why we have the tradition in the school of dressing during the Passover. Brothers will bring staffs and swords while we eat. That tradition comes from the scripture, because that night, Passover night, when these brothers and sisters ate this lamb, they were dressed and ready to go with their weapons and everything. They didn't eat it relaxed. Right. They wasn't like chilling, eating the food. It wasn't like a regular night. It wasn't like they were just in their house chilling, about to eat something to go to sleep. It wasn't like that. Right. They all got dressed. They all was ready to walk up and get up out the door, and they all sat and ate the dinner as ordered. Go ahead.
I got a question.
Mm-hmm.
So about what was it, verse 10. So do that still apply now? Like, I'm not too sure about the food department Passover. So I do know that we usually, I guess we kill a lot of lambs.
Yeah.
And we have it for the feast the next day.
Come.
So the lamb.
Do we typically have it for the next day?
We usually have enough lamb prep for the next day, but I'm not too sure. That's
okay.
Well,
typically the lamb is all eaten that night, unless I'm forgetting something. But typically it is eaten all that night, the lamb that we have, and that's typically how we get rid of it. Go ahead.
So would it be the same thing for eating it in haste, like will we at the Passover actually eat it quickly, or can we just like enjoy it?
Hurry up, goddamn. But did we read that part yet?
We actually did on verse 11.
Yeah, just read that right quick. I'll spur right down.
Verse 11. And thus shall ye eat it with your loins girded, your shoes on your feet, and your staff in your hand, and ye shall eat it in haste. It is the Lord's Passover.
And you shall eat it in haste. So you're gonna eat it fully clothed, ready to go, and you're gonna eat it hastefully, not slowly, not like I said, not relaxing, not chilling, but you want to eat it in haste. And during the Passover, you want to hold on to this tradition. Eat it quickly. Don't eat it like what's the word? Don't eat it like I said, like you're relaxing, like you're chilling, like you got time to eat. Because these brothers here on this night, these brothers and sisters and their families this night, they didn't have time to eat.
Right.
And we're gonna see why. But they didn't have time to just chill and eat and go to sleep. Right. They had to get dressed. They had to cook the lamb and eat it fastly. That's what the word haste means. Haste. So even I think to your question, Malaki, on the Passover today, we hold on to these same traditions. Right. We're gonna come in fully girded with our boots on, like we're ready to get up and go, and with our staffs and swords, and we're going to eat the lamb hastily, quickly, not like in a relaxed manner. You want to listen?
Yeah, I think you kind of answered my question. I was gonna ask, like, I know all circumstances is not the same. Sometimes, like, I know that we had to go,
right?
After everything was about to transpire,
right?
So like, I'm kind of vague on it. So in Leviticus, is it a little different where it talks about the Passover? I'm kind of like, if anybody knows better, you can correct me. But I believe in Leviticus is not as it tells us to observe the Passover, but it's not necessarily as descriptive as the story is. All the like the real specific details we getting from this from the actual story, the account of what happened, of the orders given. Yeah, and we just so really when you hear about when you hear about observing the Passover, is really just all encompassing all the customs and traditions that were taken after on this night when it happened. Read on. Verse 12. For I will pass through the land of Egypt this night.
And right here, the Most High is revealing why He's ordering us to do all this. All these things that the brothers and sisters got ordered to do, they got ordered to every family got to get a lamb. And after they kill the lamb, they got to mark their house. After they mark their house, they gotta cook the lamb, and then and after they cook the lamb, they gotta get dressed, get ready to go, and eat the lamb. And their bread they can't have lamb with yeast in it. They gotta have unleavened bread. Now we're gonna reveal why all these things were why all the orders were given, why they had to do these things that night. Read on.
God, for I will pass through the land of Egypt this night, and will smite all the firstborn in the land of Egypt.
The Most High said that he would pass through the land of Egypt. When he passed through, meaning his spirit or his angels will pass through. Think about it like that. It's kind of like if the U.S. went to war with Russia tomorrow, and Joe Biden gets in a press conference and says, "We're going to go over there and we're going to kill Putin." Joe Biden ain't going to get over there in the ship and on the aircraft carrier and go kill anybody. He's going to say, "We going to do it." He's going to say, "We're going to war. We're going to go over there. We're going to fight the Russians." He's going to use that type of terminology as if himself is physically is going to go over there to Russia. But we all know that's not what he means. He means he's ordering somebody to do. He has the authority to go send somebody. So when that person that goes over there to fight the Russians does it, it's as if Joe Biden is there. It's as if all of America is there, because Joe Biden has and the United States has the authority to send those people. So the Most High is saying he's going to pass through Egypt. And his angels are going to pass through. His spirit is going to pass through. You know?
God.
Start at and we'll smite. Yeah, you good.
For I will pass through the land of Egypt this night, and will smite all the firstborn of the land of Egypt.
And the Most High, he ordered he was going to smite all the firstborn of the land of Egypt. He's going to kill, destroy, punish all the firstborn of the land of Egypt. Read on.
God, both man and beast, and against all gods of Egypt, I will execute judgment. I am the Most High.
And both man and beast. So the firstborn son of every living thing, every man and beast, man and animal of the Egyptians was to be destroyed. So we were ordered to eat that food, to mark our doors, and to get ready to leave, because the Most High was going to come through and bring in one last plague on the Egyptians and to completely destroy every male firstborn. And it says man and beast. So every mouse that was the firstborn mouse from his dad, he died. The firstborn cow, along with the firstborn of Pharaoh's sons, all of them from the mouse down to Pharaoh's kids were killed and destroyed by the Most High in one night. All the firstborn sons. I'm sorry. Go ahead, Nicole.
Yeah, if I could, sir, like what was crazy about this whole time I was being in Egypt, and the Lord was with us at this particular time from the work. I recently found out last year that he sent more plagues that wasn't documented in Exodus about the darkness, where he had the Egyptians in darkness, and all they heard was like sound of oceans and.
I think I heard about that. I forget where it's at. But I've heard that scripture before, where they just it's a long. I read it kind of recently. It's a long list of plagues, and this is the last one. But leading up to it, it was all types of plagues. I think they gave them it was that one. What you said? It was like where their mind would go and they would be in darkness. Like I said before, the frogs, the locusts, the water turned to blood. They had disease. They got like hemorrhoids and sores, and just bumps and bruises on their bodies. It was a long list up until the Passover. It was a long list of plagues that were brought down to the Egyptians, and this was like the finale. This was the last thing that was going to push Israel out of captivity. So we read there in verse 12 that this night the Most High would come through, he would pass through, or he would pass over, and he would destroy the firstborn of the Egyptians. And that's why we were ordered to do all those things. We were ordered to get unleavened bread instead of leavened bread, because unleavened bread is quicker to make. They had no time to take yeast and put it into dough and wait for the bread to rise and cook it and get good fluffy bread that everybody liked. They had no time for that. They had to make unleavened bread that you didn't have to put any yeast in. You didn't have to wait for it to rise. It wasn't as good, but it was quick. They had to mark their door, signifying that these people followed Moses. These people followed the order Moses was given. These people are the Israelites that decided to join with Moses and follow the Most High. So the Lord passed over them. He had mercy on them. He passed over them. Everybody was dressed with their weapons. Everybody ate fast because they had no time. Because the Most High was going to bring his grand finale of death on the Egyptians. He was going to bring down one last plague that would behoove the Egyptians to throw everybody out. It would finally get Pharaoh to order all the Israelites out of captivity and out of Egypt. And that's why everything was going on the way it happened. The way it happened. It's like knowing that you're going to have to leave the house, so you prepare and do things to leave at any given moment. You put your clothes on, you get the food together, you got your gun with you, you got everything ready because at any moment I can be kicked out. And that's how and that's the spirit that you want to take on when you're reading about the scripture and when you're observing the Passover. It was that type of night. Go ahead. In the car.
Where you just broke it down, like it just came over me, like the Christian church, you want to understand that, like they won't teach that about it, you know what I'm saying? Like they teach it softly, but like the whole matter was like serious, like you said. You gotta have your sword ready, you gotta have your protection because you might have to go. Right. And if you're in captivity, of course, like we saw after we was even out, they try to attack us.
Right. I was gonna mention that next word. And like I said earlier, before I said it, my life, go ahead.
Double checking. I know like a certain fast, we bleed, don't. But a woman that's pregnant don't participate. Can you participate in this one?
Say again?
As far as not having the leaven in the yeast, can the pregnant woman participate in this fast?
Yeah, I don't think it's any, unless there's like I've never heard of any. I think I would have heard one by now. But unless there's some type of like health implications where you have to eat yeast, I can't, unless it's some super rare thing I never heard about. But yeah, unless there's something like that, yes, everybody is ordered to observe the fast, like you said, from unleavened bread. And the Feast of Unleavened Bread is the high holy day immediately after the Passover. First, we observe the Passover. First, we observe that night. That night when the Most High came and destroyed the Egyptians and freed the Israelites out of captivity. And then right immediately after that, what happened is the Feast of Unleavened Bread, because these brothers and sisters left out of Egypt and all they had was unleavened bread. Like I said, they had to rush and all they had was unleavened bread. They had no time to make good bread that everybody liked to eat. So to observe that during the Feast of Unleavened Bread, we take 7 days and we only eat unleavened bread, and we don't have anything in our homes, or we don't buy anything or have anything that contains leaven, yeast. And we'll get, you'll probably get more briefings on that. What day is it? Saturday. On Saturday, but there's a lot of things in the food that we eat every day that has yeast or leaven. And we get rid of all of that for the Feast of Unleavened Bread. I'm going to say it now before I forget. You probably want to find out now from your camp leader, anybody listening, your camp leader, what is leaven, all the things that contain leaven, or the obvious things are bread. Bread, pretty much anything that's bread in your crib, cereal, many of that, a lot of chips, I believe. Those are more obvious things that have leavening or leavening agents. And all the things typically before you, unless you live in the city, before you leave for the Passover, you want to get all those things out of your house, out of your crib, get all those things out. So when you get back, you're in the right. You're observing a high holy day, because part of it is not only abstaining from leaven, but also getting everything out of your house, not having it around you, because once again, at that time we didn't have that luxury. And we're trying to observe that and remember what our people went through as they were coming out of captivity. So like I said, the Feast of Unleavened Bread, the high holy day immediately after the Passover. Yes, everybody is to observe that, unless I haven't heard any health implications where people have to eat yeast or anything like that. So everybody, pregnant women and all, are to observe that fast of leaven. Yeah, so that's the Passover in a nutshell. That's a very quick version of the Exodus. But you want to read through the book of Exodus and get a more detailed breakdown on it. Now let me get like immediately after that. Let me get Numbers 16 and 3. Yeah, Numbers 16 verse 3. Like I said before, there are lessons for us to learn in the scripture. The Bible says that the things written in the foretime are for our learning. So all the things, all the history, all the laws, all the proverbs, all the things in the Ecclesiasticus, all the things written in our culture, written in this Bible, are for us to learn now. Even though they happened a while ago, they're written for us to learn now. So I think the last thing I'm gonna get into is what happened after the Exodus, after all the miracles that the Most High did for the children of Israel. So what's up?
For the 7 days that we eat unleavened bread, can we eat anything else like meat?
Yeah, there's only a restriction on the leaven. You can't eat anything that has leaven in it. Other than that, you can eat whatever you want. Yeah. Along with the leaven, you have to abstain from eating leaven, and you must eat some unleavened bread each day for 7 days. But you can eat whatever else. But for those 7 days, yeast, like a regular loaf of bread, what you eat, Schroman's or something, that is like pork for those 7 days. But everything else you can eat as long as it doesn't have yeast, doesn't have leavening or leavening agents. But yeah, everything else is fine. We're gonna get Numbers 16 and 3. Immediately after the Exodus, once the Israelites went out into the wilderness, once we got freedom, once the Egyptians eventually kicked us out of Egypt, we went out into the wilderness to find our homeland. And over time, out of weakness, the Israelites began to rebel against Moses. And even after, it's always been striking to me that they rebelled against him even after all the miracles that they had witnessed. After all the plagues that they had seen and all the plagues and miracles they had seen and heard about in Egypt. After seeing every firstborn Egyptian, down from the mouse, like I said, down to the mouse, to Pharaoh's kids, they all died. Every firstborn son. After seeing great destruction, after going out of Egypt and seeing Moses part the Red Sea, they walked across the Red Sea. Well, once they walked across the Red Sea, the Egyptians were following them in their armies, like the car said. Pharaoh, out of spite, wanted to go retrieve the Israelites back after kicking them out. And the armies were coming to follow the Israelites, follow us through the Red Sea. And as the Israelites passed through the Red Sea, and as the Egyptians were stuck in the middle of the Red Sea, the Most High closed the sea and killed the armies of Pharaoh. After all these amazing miracles that we had seen, once we got hungry, once we began to miss all the great things and all the great comforts that the Egyptians offered, we began to doubt the Most High. We began to doubt Moses. We began to doubt all the great miracles that the Most High had done, and we began to think that Moses may have not been the one to lead us. Even after we saw him split the Red Sea. After we saw him split the Red Sea, we still began to rebel against him because we got hungry, we got tired, and we got tired of this guy over top of us giving us orders. And some of us thought that maybe Moses wasn't the one to lead. Maybe Moses wasn't the one that the Most High was with, even after all the great things he had done through the power of the Most High. So we're gonna get into that a little bit. Whoever got it, Numbers 16 and 3.
Numbers chapter 16, verse 3. And they gathered themselves together against Moses and against Aaron.
And they gathered themselves against Moses and against Aaron. So certain men and amongst the Israelites, while we out of Egypt, were free. And certain men, rose up as leaders in a rebellion against Moses. Read on.
And said unto them, Ye take too much upon you.
You take too much upon you. You taking too much power. Moses, you doing too much. You taking too much authority. You being too hard on us. Read on.
Seeing all the congregation are holy, every one of them, and the Lord is among them. Wherefore, then lift ye up yourselves above the congregation of the Lord.
They told Moses, the whole congregation is holy. All of Israel is holy. All of us got the truth. We all follow God. The whole congregation is holy. Why is Moses risen up? Why is Moses and Aaron the people that we got to lead if we all got the truth? If we all on the side of God? Why is Moses the one that should be in charge? Once again, even after all Moses had done, even after all that the Most High had blessed Moses with, they still doubted him. They still thought that maybe they should be in charge. They still thought that maybe Moses was wrong. Read on.
Verse 4. And when Moses heard of it, he fell upon his face.
Read on.
And he spake unto Korah and unto all his company, saying, Even tomorrow the Lord will shew who are his and who is holy.
And Moses, his face fell. His countenance fell. He said, tomorrow, God is going to show you who he's with. God is going to show you who's holy, who's separate, who's on the side of the Most High. Read on.
And will cause him to come near unto him.
And will cause him to come near. He said the Most High is going to show us all, show everybody in the wilderness who he was with, and he's going to cause that person that's with the Most High to come closer to him and be revealed. Read on.
Even him whom he had chosen will he cause to come near unto him.
That next day it was going to become clear to everybody who the Most High was with, who God was with. Drop down to, we're going to skip a lot, but we're going to get down to the point. Let me get numbers 16 and 28.
Verse 28. And Moses said, Hereby ye shall know that the Lord hath sent me to do all these works.
Moses said, the God is going to show you that I'm the one he chose. That I'm the one he chose to do all his works. Read on.
For I have not done them of mine own mind.
Because Moses, all his works, he didn't do it himself. He didn't do it because he was great. He didn't do it because he had a great idea. He did it because the Most High was with him. Because God gave him the power to do it. God gave him the authority. And he was going to show them all that he was the one to be followed. Read on.
Verse 29. If these men die, the common death of all men, or if they be visited after the visitation of all men, then the Lord hath not sent me.
Moses said that the men that rebelled against him, the men that tried to question his authority, if they die a common death, like a regular death, if death visits them the way it visits most people. So if they die, of old age when they in their 80s, or if they, die just, they get old and sick and die like everybody else, then we'll know that the Most High wasn't with Moses. We'll know that. But read on.
Verse 30. But if the Lord make a new thing, and the earth open her mouth, and swallow them up.
But if the Most High make a new thing, a new destruction, a new plague, and the earth open up, read on.
And swallow them up with all that appertain unto them, and they go down quick into the pit, then ye shall understand that these men have provoked the Lord.
Read on.
And it came to pass, as he had made an end of speaking all these words, that the ground clave asunder that was under them.
So all the men that rebelled against Moses, after Moses made his prophecy, the earth began to clave under them. It began to shake and open up under them. Read on. When I said earth, I mean literally the ground. So the ground they were standing on, the ground that their families were standing on, their houses, their tents. That it began to open up. Read on.
and the earth opened her mouth and swallowed them up.
So a sinkhole came. That's what we would call it today. A sinkhole opened up from the ground, and all the rebels were swallowed into that sinkhole. You know,
And their houses, and all the men that appertained unto Korah, and all their goods.
and all that good. So all the men that followed the rebels, all their goods, all their weapons, everything they had was swallowed up into a sinkhole because they dared defy Moses, defy the Most High after all the Most High had shown them. So what's the lesson that we should learn from these men? We should learn that if you're in the truth, if you learn from the Most High, if you learn from the Isupk, you learn the truth. You learn from God what's right and what's wrong, and you learn how to become a new person and change your life. Don't think just because the Most High did a miracle in you that you won't just as easily turn against God. Because these brothers saw literal miracles. They saw literal miracles in front of their eyes. Saw absolute death and destruction. A death and destruction that was a miracle. That was on a level that only God could have done it. Only God could have done it. They were thrust out of captivity, given independence by God through Moses. And even after all that, they still defied the Most High. You know, all that they had seen, all they had been through, all they were given, they still decided that maybe Moses wasn't right. Maybe God wasn't with Moses, even though, you know, his staff turned into a serpent and he split the Red Sea and did all these amazing miracles. They still defied him. So you know, you think, you know, because God helped me stop smoking weed, I'll never turn against God. I'll never turn against God because it was a miracle that I got off of drugs. It was a miracle that I came into the truth and found out who I was. These brothers knew exactly who they were, and they still defied Moses. And we're reading about them today. So we're talking about Moses right now, thousands of years ago. Obviously a great man, and these brothers still had a lack of faith to follow him. It should make us all humble. It should humble us all to know that these men saw real great things, actual miracles. And we haven't seen the things they saw, many of us. We haven't seen things so great. So we shouldn't so foolishly believe that we're stronger than them, or we won't make the same mistakes as them. We should know that we're just as capable of making the same mistakes as to not make the same mistakes, as to avoid the same mistakes that these men made. What's this something done?
I was going to say, what you bring out is just so heavy. You know, Christ had over 5,000 men and women following him.
Right.
And at the Passover, he broke, not mean, but the parable, they understand, they in the road. They literally saw Christ, our King, raise Lazarus from the dead, healing the sick and the blind, like seeing amazing things that our King did, and still fell weak and fell about the truth.
Right. But niggas left Jesus. Jesus. Jesus had more than the disciples. Jesus at his height, Jesus Christ had thousands of people following him, and these people heard and saw about him walking on water, raising a man from the dead. And when times got tough, when things got hard, when things looked a little shaky, they ran away. They ran away he was Jesus. He was Jesus, and they still left him. I never been around Jesus. I never seen Jesus. So, but men that did left him. Men that saw the things that he did left him. So I would never, be so high and mighty to think that I could make the same mistake. So as to avoid making the same mistake, I'm aware of it. I'm aware that these things can happen if I don't check myself. If I don't maintain a level of humility and always strive to become a perfect soldier for Christ, a perfect soldier for the Most High. Is there any other questions? Probably I only got time for maybe one question, if any. But if not, well, it's Monday night Scripture Breakdown once again. You give a hand clap for Commander Junior Hanna. Give a hand clap for Commander Junior Hanna, Joe Mahiman, Joe Mayaga, all the generals. Once again, I believe they have prepared an amazing Passover for us. Once again, like they do every year. We're gonna be getting on strong in Raleigh, North Carolina. Start it up. Raleigh, North Carolina. That's April 1st. On April 1st is a Saturday. If you ain't prepared now, I think the Lord maybe may want you to observe in your house. Lord willing, everybody has their arrangements in order. If you don't have your arrangements in order, you better get to walking now. I think you're dying though. If you walk now, you can get there. But my point is, you should be making your arrangements. If not, you have to you gotta and regardless of what's going on, you should learn from the lessons of what's going on today to be more prepared. If you aren't prepared this year, to be more prepared next year. But everybody's gonna get down there. We're gonna have an amazing time. I'm gonna say it because it's big and it's going out. Everybody should just be on their P's and Q's when we go out here, because the same weekend of the Passover is gonna be the J. Cole's Dreamville Fest. So we're just assuming, out of wisdom, that the police presence is going to be a little higher. The police are going to be extra evil, because they're extra evil when they know Wisconsin's going on. Our people out of town, they're going to be on the extra. They're going to have a heightened level of security. Yeah, a heightened level of security because they're just anticipating things happening because it's a concert in the area. Just so happens the same weekend that the Passover was going on is this concert. They're gonna assume you down there to go smoke all the weed and have sex with all the hoes and see J. Cole. So just know when they see you, that's what they assume. They assume you down there to have sex and watch J. Cole. So that being said, we should definitely be on our P's and Q's, have an extra amount of discipline. You should already be disciplined already and always do the right thing. But if not, make sure you do the right thing this weekend with your driving. We have shuttles and buses in order. So brothers, if need be, don't have to travel in their own cars. Just maintain security, maintain your professionalism with dealing with these people or police if you interact with them. But just be aware of what's going on, because the devil is always lurking and he's trying to get you. So everybody just maintain their discipline. And with that, I'm gonna pass it over to Precinct Officer Daniel Allah.